All right, guys, welcome back to the Mindset Effect podcast. This is I totally botched. This is episode 33, and we're going to be talking about becoming the alpha. But first, I have this joke that I saw this morning on Reddit. I was scrolling through Reddit, and the question was like, what did Yoda say when he saw himself in 4K? Do you know what it
What?
is?
No.
HDMI.
Wow. Wow.
HDMI, like how Yoda says,
Wow. Yes. Wow.
"I am I." No, that doesn't make sense. Such a good joke. I don't know. Such a good joke. Such a good joke.
Sort of.
Yeah. So becoming the
It was okay.
alpha. Yeah. So becoming the alpha. I think. Um, yeah. I think one of the let's talk about in groups, right? Like you have friend groups, and it's pretty obvious. Like joining a friend group, like who the alpha is, and usually I think the alpha is like the person who usually invites you to your friend group or the person who leads the group. That's just by definition what alpha is. And so like let's talk about what traits like alphas have in the first place, right? So I'm gonna name one, you can name one. So um I think one of the biggest traits of an alpha is, their their ability to lead and their ability to really not be afraid of judgment, right? Because they make the calls. They make calls. They're like, hey, let's watch a movie today, and the rest of the group follows. Like it's the ability to make a proposal and follow through with it, even if others may reject it or not. And I think it's pretty obvious. Like I think a lot of people like in a group, if someone makes a proposal, they'll just go along with the proposal, and you can really tell if the alpha beta by that. Um, so that's a huge factor. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think like being assertive is one of the really big ones. So like one of the traits that determines like how much money you make because it affects your ability to negotiate is like how assertive you are. And so like, you need to be somebody who can like stand up for yourself and fight for yourself because a lot of people want to just avoid conflict. And then, in negotiations they can't really do that. They don't really want to make decisions because they're so focused on pleasing everyone else instead of themselves. And it's funny because like this is something that I've kind of learned from my brother, where he's like, if you're not going to make a decision and it impacts me, then I'll just make it. And it's like because you're choosing not to, so I have no reason to feel guilty. Because like I see this in my family all the time. I have 8 members of my family. And so if we would go out to eat or something, there are like 8 different opinions that we have to like kind of sort through. And if it'd be really complicated and weird because most of the time people wouldn't want to throw in an opinion. So they're just like, oh, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. And so we'd have like literally the whole family is just saying, I don't care. And so it's like really difficult to make a decision. We didn't really have anyone who would step up. But it's gotten to the point now where it's just like if everyone's going to say that they don't care, we feel guilty because we don't want to go somewhere that they don't. This goes in like dating relationships too, but it's like you just step up and be like, you know what, I'm going to choose then because no one else is, and you shouldn't feel guilty about that. And so I think like stepping up and being assertive is a really, really big trait. Um, and like, if you think of like kind of, I think the alpha term kind of comes from like the alpha wolf in a wolf pack. They always have a leader. And so it's like, be the leader of that pack. It's like you were saying, kind of setting the direction of what they're doing and where they're going. In high school, if you would go to like some fair or something, just like walking around with your friends, you can always tell who's the alpha because it's always the one probably in the center who people are surrounding them. And so it's like you can usually tell. And I think being more assertive is something that can really help. Being like more assertive, more confident, and really making decisions. But it's oftentimes somebody that people want to be around. So I was actually reading earlier today about like alpha females, and apparently this is true. But apparently,
Why
like
are
when
you
you
talking
have a
about
group of
females, dude?
a
Why are
female,
you talking about
because
females?
I'm interested in alpha females, obviously. No,
Oh,
but like
is that a thing?
no,
It's usually
but
alphas go for beta females.
I think it
Whereas
depends. But
alpha
I think
goes
I
for
think
alpha.
some I think some girls will want a guy that they can control, um, because then it's easier and you don't really have conflict. Because if you have two really, really, if you have two alphas in a relationship, I don't know how that would go. It'll be interesting. But I don't know. I'm not really sure of all the stuff behind it. But apparently, though, if you have like a group of females, like the women's feet will point to the alpha, apparently, which is really interesting. But
You believe that bullshit?
I don't know. I'd have to see it in real life. But I think it would make almost a little bit of sense because, like, maybe inadvertently you've got kind of like attention going to, focusing on that person, and so you're kind of facing them anyway. Because they were saying like even if you're in like a circle, the alpha will almost always have all of the feet pointing towards them. But I don't know, it's kind of weird. But yeah, I think no matter what, even if you're using that or something else, it's usually pretty obvious to tell like who's the alpha in the room. Like the whole confidence dynamic changes and the social dynamic is all focused on them.
Yeah, I think another important quality. I think it's like you have to like care more about your character than your reputation, and that's where the initiative and that's where the initiative comes in, because when you make a proposal and you might get judged for it, and I think you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with knowing that, hey, the way that you are matters more than the way people think you are, in your group and out of your group. um, yeah, so that's an important quality of an alpha. I don't even want to say an alpha. I feel like this is just in general of a good, of not a good person, but like a person who has like very those qualities of a successful leader. um
Hmm.
and like I think you just have to, man, dude, there's so many like cutoffs. Like you just have to, yeah, it's pretty weird. We should probably
I
switch to
feel
like Google Hangouts or something, because they have
maybe
it's
I don't know if that
pretty
would work
nice.
better
I don't know,
because like
we can try.
at least my experience on like Meet, it was weird, but I don't know. Maybe Hangouts would be better. I'm sure there are plenty of platforms out there. We could use like one
Yeah.
of my things that I built. It's like WebRTC. That'd
Oh,
probably be
fuck that.
worse.
No, that's
Yeah.
scuffed. That's hell. That's so scuffed. Um, yeah. So I think alphas. Yeah. Why do we even choose this topic? I don't even know what to say. What do you have to say?
No, I think there's a lot of really good points with all of this, and like it goes into like relationships of like dating and or just people in general. Almost every good leader out there is the alpha in one situation or another. If you're surrounded by friends, like we were talking about this right before, if you go to a let's say you go to a like a high school dance or something, and like you're one of those kids sitting in the corner not dancing, you're probably a beta. And it's like, I think alphas are assertive. They go out there, they do things, they don't care what people think. And they really just set the tone for everything. They set direction. They know how to keep a conversation and keep the social dynamic going. And it's like they're visibly confident. I think so. It's been really interesting to see how my personal brand has grown in the last like a week. I mean, the last like 4 weeks. As I've been more openly confident, it's been interesting because I've seen more and more people who have been really interested in like what I do and like just talking to me and stuff.
Like
And I
random
think how
people?
you present yourself. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of it is because of presence, frankly, because she's been pulling me into everything, which has helped me get a lot more exposure. But like, especially people from England. But like, my name was thrown in with some crazy people a few days ago. I don't know if you saw that on my Instagram story, but like, somebody put me
I
in
don't even use Instagram,
in
so
with some.
but just tell me.
Okay,
Tell
yeah.
me.
Well, like somebody put me in with some names that were like people who had like millions of followers, and they like put me as somebody that they wanted to learn from compared to those. And I was like, I think a lot of this just comes from being confident and being just yourself. 100%. Like I'm gonna do me, and I literally don't give a shit like what you think. And I think people are attracted to that. That's why like Joe Rogan does so well, is because he just doesn't care. He's like, I'm gonna like do whatever the heck I want, and if you don't like it, then fine. That's why people are attracted to Elon Musk too. Obviously, you're gonna get people who don't like that, but I think that's one of the really big defining factors, and I think that's why, especially lately, Joe Rogan has done so well, is because he's somebody who's just like, you know, completely careless with how they appear, um, because it's more of a I want to do what I want to do, and I want to look how I want to look, and so like, tip my microphone. But so it's like if you don't like that, then I don't care. And I think that's something that's super attractive when you're 100% authentic.
I know it sounds like it sounds easy, like the idea of not giving a shit about what anyone else thinks. it sounds very easy. It's a very lucrative idea. I think a lot of people, they hear it and they're like, "Wow, amazing idea," but when they actually try implementing that, it doesn't work. Like
Yeah.
they can't let go of their old ideas, and I think partly um, it's partly because I think when you don't give a shit about other people think, you start to lose old attachments, old friends. I think it's those attachments to those old things, those old relationships that prevent someone from actually progressing forward in their personal development. And I think more people need to be aware of that. That it's not easy not giving a shit. It's easy.
Mhm.
It sounds easy, but it's not. You have to actually work on it, and you have to be willing to sacrifice a lot, give up a lot to do so. And I think it's worth it too, because like I think especially like Jesus Christ, fucking so many weird ass. Like, do you hear that? Do you hear those like
Oh, yeah, I
weird,
heard that.
like so weird? Okay, but like, yeah, we need to switch off Zoom. Fuck Zoom. But I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, what was
Wow.
I just saying? Oh, I know. So I was
Um,
talking about relationships, right? And I think it's better to just not give a shit, because you let go of all these periphery relationships that you honestly don't care about. Like, I guarantee you, a lot of your friends from high school, you probably won't give a shit about in like 10 years, 20 years. I think a lot of people put
mhm.
like a huge emphasis on high school reunions. Like, why should you give a shit about, these old classmates that you haven't met like in 10, 20 years, 30 years? Um, not saying you shouldn't go, but I mean, you shouldn't like feel too obligated towards um, old relationships, if you
Yeah.
know
Well,
what I'm
I think
saying.
I think it kind of comes from the mindset of like, oh, high school is going to be the best 4 years of your life. And I think it's just people who go nowhere are the people that say that. I think I mentioned this before, but like working at Kroger for a little bit, I got to see all these people who were just like, enjoy your high school years because it gets way worse after this. It's like, when you have that kind of mindset, it's no
Yeah,
wonder that your rest of your life sucks. And it's like, life is amazing and such a blessing. It's like, you just got to use it. You've got to like try to progress and like expand all your horizons, whatever. It's just like, go out there and do stuff. And I think so many people look for shortcuts. I was talking to somebody like a week ago, and they were asking me something, maybe about developing confidence or something. And I was like, there is no shortcut to all of this. We just want to look for shortcuts. The answer to how do you lose weight is super simple. Like, cut sugar, exercise more. Like, we know this. This information is out there, but we still look for shortcuts. And it's like so many times in life, there just isn't a shortcut. And it's like, you just got to do it. It's the same with being shy. It's like, you're never going to stop being shy just because you read a book on how to stop being shy. You've got to literally just go out and do it. And so it's like, if you want to become more of an alpha or more confident or more assertive or whatever, you just have to go out there and practice it. Do it. It's like literally every time in your head, you'll get to those points where like, what you need to do. And it's just like that moment is the defining moment of if you decide to do it or not. It's like, I feel really shy and I see this person I want to go talk to, and either I'm going to go talk to them or I'm not going to. And like, I think you build the habit of facing your fear right there. And I think that is what's going to really set you apart. It's going to really make the change for you. And so it's like, no matter what it is, if you want to be the alpha, like maybe start inviting people to do stuff a little bit more. Like try to become more open and more assertive. Interrupt people more if you need to. Like I think people who are more assertive tend to interrupt people, but it comes off as more confident in my mind at least. And so it's like there are all these things that you can just like start doing and practicing.
it's not hard. Well, it's not easy, but it's not too hard either. It just takes time, takes
I think we
effort.
make it harder than it is.
It is, yeah. We make a lot of things harder than it is, especially easy things. Something can be so easy that it's so hard.
Hmm.
Like, I think washing your clothes is super easy, but it's so hard at the same time because it's so easy, right? Like, it's that sort of paradox.
Yeah, like
And I can talk about. Let's go back to
yeah.
your previous one. Let's so like actually, getting over the fear. I think a lot of um, to become an alpha, you have to get over the fear of rejection, and just the fear of having bad first impressions. Not bad, but I mean like bad in the sense of the other person's point of view. Like in your point of view is always good when you talk to someone. I think let's talk about that, right? Like so approaching others. And you have to like I think it's just a habit, right? Like
I agree.
it literally just is a habit. I think I went in college. I literally met Andrew by we were in the same group, and I just went up to him and I was like, "What's up, dude, Kevin?" And we started talking. That's how we started talking. Like you cannot,
I think we connected over programming too.
yeah, some shit like that. I totally forgot, but I know it was part of crew, not crew. What was the
Or no,
summer
it
thing?
was
What was the
it
thing we
was
did
our
for
lead, yeah.
freshmen?
Our
Our
lead.
league, yeah, our league, yeah. So basically, you just gotta like be the first one to humanize the reaction interactions. Like I think I think in a lot of groups, there's so many people, like you say, right? Like no one wants to talk. Like you have to be the first person to crack a joke, to do some sort of funny thing to get the vibe going, right? You have to build the vibe, and I think that's what alphas do best. And yeah,
Mhm.
going off the tangent, back to the main point of how do you actually get over the fear of talking to others. It's just all experience. It's all practice. In college, I was just talking to new people like every day. I'd like go up to someone walking and I'd just be like, "Hey, what's up? Can't talk about that. Can I talk about it?" Because mostly girls. Anyway, anyway, so it's really just a habit. Like I think you get numb over the experience of just talking to people, like
Mhm.
especially like people you've never met before. So you just get numb.
But I think you
You
also
get numb.
realize that you're not. I think you also realize that you're not going to die from doing it. It's like Jordan Peterson says. It's like when you have somebody who's afraid of something, it's like you just slowly inch them towards actually doing it. So like if you're afraid of like an elevator, then he'll like show you pictures of an elevator, and then like after a little bit, like you'll go and see one, and then you'll like get closer and closer to it. You'll like press the button and like watch the doors open, and then like you'll get inside it. And so like you like build up to doing it. And so it's just like, go out there and like face the fear. Cause people talk about like how do you get confident enough to do something, or how do you get over the fear of something? And it's like you literally just do it. Like there is no other answer. It's like you got to have the discipline and have to force yourself to go and do it. It's like even if you're talking to
Mm-hmm.
girls, like go out and talk to random people. And so it's just like, especially for kids who are going into like college and university and stuff, it's like, don't be that kid who's like terrified of talking to other people. Like go and just practice. You'll have tons of these icebreakers in college, which honestly are kind of pointless. But like, just force yourself out of your comfort zone. So many people are like, every high school student was terrified of going to college and stuff. It's like, honestly, I was super hyped to go to college because like I had a whole summer before that of just talking to random strangers. And so like it'll
Mm-hmm.
really benefit you if you just go out of your comfort zone as early as possible. It's like, just set out a goal of like, you know, twice a day, I'm going to set up random calls with people, especially with this COVID stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just talk to random strangers. Like I used to be terrified of even picking up a phone and like calling somebody. I remember being so scared. I'd be like super nervous. But at this point, I've done hundreds of calls, like face to face now, not even
Yeah.
just the phone. And it's like, it's so much easier now because I
You just
just
get
did it
numb to it,
over and
right?
over and over
You're
again.
like numb to it. You
Hmm.
basically like
Yeah.
even if it is like someone like even if my CEO now, like I swear to God, like I just talk to him like a fucking any other person. I talk to him like any other person. I don't give a shit. So you just get numb to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just like you just got to do it. Like there aren't shortcuts. Like people sell courses on like shortcuts and shit like this. It's like, dude, like you just got to do it. Like there is no alternative. It's like if you never start, you'll never get there. It's like I was on the phone with somebody a few days ago, and they were like, I keep getting these ideas, but I just don't start. And they're like, do you have any tips to doing this? And I'm like, literally, the only tip is just go and do it. Like put it on the calendar
You need a
and
game
then like
plan. Always
schedule
make a
it
game
and be
plan.
like,
You
no
need a
matter
game
what,
plan.
I'm going to do this.
Yes.
Yeah,
Game plan.
I
You need a game
agree.
plan. Definitely need a game plan. And also like something I always say is like willpower is super important when it comes to um, building new habits that take a lot of effort on your parts. And I think what's really interesting is like so how do thoughts even arise in the first place, right?
Like
Like
in the
they just come out of like you might be studying and you just randomly think of like some girl you have a crush on or some shit, right? Like how does that even arise in the first place, right? Like it comes out of like nowhere. And like I think like you might be like, oh, I was thinking about her like yesterday or something, and or like, I saw like another really attractive girl like just like an hour ago, right? Like these thoughts happen because you think about them and they get implanted in your unconsciousness. And so I think one thing that could really help with people building new habits is to really program your unconscious. I think the unconscious is such a big factor contributor to building new habits. Like, because if you want to get over game addiction, like you can't just like how like why does game addiction even happen, right? Like you wake up first thing in the morning and you think of games. And how does that happen? Because you're playing games all day. You're thinking of games all day. And so I think what people need to do is really think about the right things uh, every day, so they program their mind to think about that. Especially in the morning. I think in the mornings, like mornings are super important. Like I wake up in the morning, I work out, and I just holy shit.
Hmm.
Do you hear that? Jesus
What?
Christ.
Oh,
Do you
I
hear that?
think
Like
so. Yeah.
huge, dude. I swear. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like fucking tripping me over.
It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, but like I wake up in the morning and I work out, and then I do my work. I do my most important work in the morning because that's when I'm most awake, and that's when I have the most willpower. And so I think it's being cognizant of the best times to perform what you need to do, um, and just willpower in general. Like make sure like your unconscious is like spot on. You gotta like make sure unconscious is there.
You mean subconscious?
Oh, subconscious,
Yeah,
unconscious,
it's
subconscious,
close enough.
same thing, same thing.
No, it's definitely not, but it's close enough.
What?
But yeah, it's like I think, and if you get in like situations where you're addicted to something, it's like remove yourself from the situation. If you're addicted to a video game, literally uninstall the game. Like do whatever you need to do. Like there were times where like YouTube would be distracting me or something. So I just like I'm just gonna uninstall YouTube on the phone or something. It's like if you have a
Yeah,
game that's distracting you or a person that's distracting you, like in the times because like while you're doing it you might not be thinking about like I shouldn't be doing this, but like in the times that you are like this is a terrible time waster, I really shouldn't be doing this, like do something to remove yourself from it, like whatever you have to do, like have the
I
conversation with the
think
person, be like, and I can't talk anymore or something like that.
I think you'll be surprised that like when you uninstall something, like you are like a little bit less likely to actually want to install it again and use it, which is actually insane, right? Like you do this
Yeah.
multiple times, especially games take up like games are like couple gigabytes, and when you uninstall one and when you want to play again, you have to reinstall it. It's going to take like maybe depending on your internet speed, right? It's going to take a while to download, and I think that wait time is just it causes you to lose interest, which is good, right? You
Hmm.
want to like playing games is not bad, but you want to make sure that you have self control, and I think you can develop self control by making it harder for you to play games, and yeah, just by doing that, which is really
Hmm.
interesting. Um,
Yeah, and it's like there are apps also for like productivity and stuff that'll like lock your phone for an hour or something while you're working. And so like there are things like that. There are all sorts of productivity tools out there and things to like help keep you focused. It's like just like experiments. I've tried some of them. I didn't really end up using them, but like there's some things out there that you might find super valuable and super helpful.
yeah, definitely, definitely. I swear, guys, this entire episode, fucking bunch of mic cuts and stuff.
Yeah, I feel
I
that.
feel bad for
Well,
everyone listening to this episode.
yeah,
I'm so sorry,
I don't,
guys.
I don't
I'm so sorry, guys.
think this is my Wi-Fi, but I don't know. It's all Kevin's fault.
It's all my fault. Yeah, it's my fault. I've noticed that my Wi-Fi has become worse these past few days. It's really weird.
Well, I mean, you might have like in your area with all this COVID stuff. I don't know. Granted, in the last few days, it doesn't really explain it, but you could have people who are doing more traffic, so your internet service provider like slows down your
Dude, I
speeds
just
or
noticed that
something.
like
I don't
holding
know.
my mic like this is so much easier. I just hold it and talk like this. It's way easier.
Why is it
So much
easier?
easier. I don't know, cause like I put it
Why?
here, like you can't even hear me if it's over here. But here, like my voice is much more clear, I think. Um, yeah, but let's talk more about becoming the alpha, right? Like I think we give a few tips on becoming the alpha. What else? What else can we talk about? What do you have to say?
I think like there it's pretty likely like if you're not quite the alpha yet, there's going to be one in whatever group you hang out with or whatever. And so like I think don't
Learning from, oh
model
my gosh,
them too
yes.
much. Like there are certain things,
Be friends with
yeah, there are
alpha.
certain things that you can learn from them. But
Yes,
yeah. Yeah, honestly, yeah.
be friends with, like, if you want to become a funny person, be literally become friends with a lot of funny people, and you will literally catch their vibes, catch their sort of drift, and become funny yourself. Like
Hmm.
I think, especially like if you think about it, like a lot of funny people, like they come from, usually their families are like pretty funny. Like their families are pretty playful, and they grow up in environments where they're always laughing, they're always making jokes, and that makes them funny when they grow up. And so putting yourself in environments, in situations um, where you can experience laughter, become funny, like that will help you become a funnier person, right? That's just one
Hmm.
example, but you can apply this
Yeah.
to a lot of other scenarios, right? Like you want to become a better coder, you should join a coding, coding club, coding group, and just be friends with more programmers and stuff. So
Mhm.
if you want to become an alpha, you gotta be friends with a lot of alphas and see how they do things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's what's
Yeah.
really funny is like everything in like
Learn
society is a
from the
hierarchy.
what's
And
the quote? Like learn from the giants or something? Walking on the
maybe
shoulders of giants or something. Something like that.
that sounds
Something
familiar.
shoulders of giants.
Sounds
Yeah.
really familiar.
Yeah.
I can't
It's
remember what
like
it is, but yeah, it sounds familiar.
basically the gist of it is to learn from Jesus, learn from people who have already done it.
Yeah, yeah, but it's just like it's funny because like there are hierarchies everywhere. So like you're probably there are going to be lots of times where even if you're a normal alpha, you'll get into a group where you're just not the alpha anymore. But it's funny because like I also was reading earlier. They were talking about like you're really an alpha when people want to be friends with you, as in like you don't even have to introduce yourself. Like imagine going into a room with like Gary V. Everybody's going to want to go and talk to him. And it's just like the brand that
Yeah.
he's built up. And so I think like building your brand as an alpha also, I think honestly that's something that's really helped me is like, don't build your brand as just like a harmless nice guy. And actually, so this goes into like the into the problems with like relationships. I used to be one of these dudes. You have all these really nice dudes who are like, girls just want jerks and stuff. And the only reason they do that is because the jerks are people who are actually confident or not necessarily confident, but they're people who are dangerous. Because if you look back into our history of as humans, females would want males that were like dominant and could protect them and stuff. So it's like a completely natural thing. And so it's you got to be a little bit dangerous, but you got to be civilized. It's like Kevin and I were talking about earlier. It's like the Beauty and the Beast. You've got the Beast who is literally a beast, but he can be civilized. So like as Jordan Peterson says, like you got to be a monster, but one that can control yourself. And so it's like you want to have weapons, but you want to not use them. And if you do have to use them, you want to be powerful enough that you use them once. It's like if the dog barks at you, you bite back. And so it's like you've got to be an absolute badass, I
You guys gotta be like Andrew, dude. Andrew's super nice. He pulls the ladies, dude. I'm telling you guys. It's true.
think. Sort of. No, I do think that this is also something we talked about. Like, not to toot my own horn, but like, I think as you get more confident and like out there and you start going after your dreams, you'll have a lot more girls that like go after you or guys, depending on like whatever gender you are. But like, I think you will attract way more. Like Kevin and I were talking about this, like the increase in like females that have gone after us like within the last year because we've actually started going after what we want has been pretty ridiculous. And so it's like, go after what you want. Like put your dreams out there, work towards them, be nice to everyone. Don't put other people down, but be visibly confident. Like I think that has been such a big thing. Because like you'll attract so many more people. But be careful because a lot of the people that you'll attract are going to be nobodies. But I think your confidence will wear off on others too, and that'll really change lives. Because I've seen a lot of like instances where my confidence is like rubbed off on certain people. And it's been a really cool thing to see. So it's like I think obviously don't model yourself after me, but it's like I think being openly confident. And like
Mhm.
trying to help people, being nice but being dangerous at the same time is a super valuable thing to be able to do.
I think you gotta calibrate. I think depending on the person, you have to calibrate how confident you appear to be. Because I think
Hmm.
a lot of confidence can scare off some people. So you just have to moderate your confidence around certain people. Like you
Well,
you
I
want to
agree.
appear, you don't want to
I
appear too high value. Like if you appear too high value to some people, like they will just back off, right? Like you have to know the threshold, and that takes experience. I think the biggest
honestly,
factor
so
for
what
me,
I
yes, I think the biggest factor for me, like I said earlier, right? You have to care more about your character than your reputation. Like you have to be willing to say shit that will damage your reputation, but show your character, right? Like you got to be honest about, some things. Yeah, just honesty, impeccable
Mhm.
honesty.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with that last point. And so I think that kind of goes against your first one. It's like, the way I see things,
What was my first point?
is like, I think you should always be, so your first point was like that you should calibrate your confidence level, or like openly confidence level, to like the
Yeah,
crowd that you're in.
yeah.
And like, I think maybe there are certain instances where that's true, but I think in most cases, if you're confident, you're going to intimidate people. Like I've really experienced this. The more openly confident you are, all the insecure people are going to be really intimidated by you. And that's just a fact. And I think there's not really anything wrong with that, and you shouldn't have to change yourself just to appease them.
Oh no, I was
Like I
talking about
think,
it. I was saying that in the context of like pulling girls, but let's not
okay,
talk
yeah,
about that. Yeah,
yeah,
okay. So,
yeah.
so
But
not
I mean,
context, but in
yeah.
general, in general, like just appear as confident as you want because it doesn't matter. If you, yeah, just yeah. In general, like
Yeah.
you should just not give a shit, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Depending
like
on
I
the
think I
context.
think I think again, there's definitely a fine line between arrogance and confidence, but like, be confident in who you are, and like your like what you say, what you're doing, etc. Don't let people put you down super easily. But also don't be a jerk, and be nice. And I think a big difference between somebody who's confident and somebody who's arrogant is that one of them puts some other people down and the other one doesn't. So if you're arrogant, you're putting other people down, and you're trying to rub it in their faces what you've done. I've, on like a personal level, I've gotten into a habit of just not talking to people about what I do usually. If it's like a random stranger, Kevin knows this. Like there were multiple girls that we would meet this year where Kevin would have to tell them the stuff that I was doing because they wouldn't know if I would tell, like if I was talking to them. And so it's just like, let other people talk about you to them, um,
Yeah.
because then I think it comes off in a lot better of a way, and the surprise is way more enticing that way. but
I mean,
yeah,
I
it's
said the
like,
stuff I did because
stay.
I'm wingman. I'm winging for you, dude.
No, no, but like, yeah. So I think just be as openly confident as you can. And again, you're gonna scare people off, and I think that's fine because those are the people you don't want to hang around with anyway. And so, if someone calls you arrogant, but you know deep down that you're not, then it doesn't matter. If they actually have a point, then assess that, and try to fix yourself. But like, if they're, I'm sure a lot of people call me arrogant, but I mean, like, if I look into the stuff I'm doing, I don't really think I'm arrogant. I really don't believe I am. And so I think
Here's
if
some
you
food for
believe
thought.
that you're right,
Here is
that's
some food for thought, right? Like you have, so I think you have to be comfortable with your. Holy shit! Yeah, okay. I think it's definitely me. But I think you have to become. You have to be comfortable with yourself, and the truth, and you have to be able to sit with it, and recognize that the truth it will connect with some people, right? Like your confidence, your overconfidence, it will connect with some people, and some people it won't connect with as well, and you have to be okay with that. But you have to know
Mhm.
that like I will not be disrespected, and I'm not afraid to share my thoughts, share my opinions, be who I am, and I'm not going to pretend that something's the case when it's not. So being okay with all this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting if you look at, like, let's say politics, for example, because, if you are yourself and you're unique, and you're completely authentic, you're going to piss a lot of people off. And so in politics, they can't afford to do that. And so that's why everyone hates on politics, is being super fake, is because all these politicians are just faking to be like everyone else. You can never trust them. And so that's why there's such a bad reputation around politics. So it's like, I think that's a pretty sure way of knowing for a fact that you should avoid being a politician, as in like if that's the career path you go down, cool. But like, avoid being a politician in your like actual relationships. Find your values,
Yeah.
stay true to those, and just be you. It doesn't matter if you're gonna piss people off for staying true to your values. That's fine. Like, who cares? And I think, again, you're never as unique as you think you are. There are plenty of other Kevins out there. There are plenty of other me's out there. And it's like, the more that we act how we are and act as the person that we want to be, the more that will attract other people like that. And so again, that's why the whole personal brand thing works so well, is because you're just attracting other people who are just like you. and people who are interested in who
or
you
who or
are.
who,
And so I
who
think
or who
that's
people
why
want
it's
to be like you, or people that want to be like you.
exactly. Exactly. And so it's like, don't fake yourself to be like all these other people. It doesn't matter if you're going to end up making your following smaller in the end. You probably won't, honestly. But like, even if you did, it doesn't matter because you're still going to get a community that's a lot better and a lot more loving towards you.
Totally. Some really good advice. Should wrap this
Yeah, for
episode
sure.
up. I mean, I have
Yeah.
no closing thoughts. What about you?
Um, Yeah, I think it's just like, we all naturally want to be the alpha, so don't let people put you down for being one or wanting to be one. This is a supernatural thing that humans do. I mean,
Yeah.
animals do it too. So I think we have a pretty good excuse to do it. And it's like, if you're the alpha, step up, be assertive, stand up for yourself, to work on making yourself more dangerous. And I don't mean like violently dangerous. I mean like work out if you can. Like that's something I'm working on too. Like get a little muscular, whatever. But I mean like more of just like mentally dangerous. Like
Mm-hmm.
somebody who can stand up for themselves, somebody who can think freely, and who like not just go with the crowd. Make yourself somebody who has weapons, and who's not afraid to use them, but is mostly a gentle giant. I think that'll really make some wicked changes for you. And especially if you're one of those guys who complains about girls not going after you, you're probably a beta bitch. Like, like let's be real. And so it's like, try to take steps towards being an alpha, be more assertive, make decisions, go after whatever goal you have in life. Like that is what will attract people and attract people that you want to be around.
You know what? You can be a
And so
beta
it's like,
anime guy
I don't,
and actually pull some girls. Have you seen anime? Like literally
yeah,
every anime
but
guy is a beta, but like they're like super good looking beta guys, and they just totally
yeah,
off
but I
topic.
think I
Totally
think the
off
problem with
topic.
that, well, the problem with that is like I don't think you'll get anyone good.
Mm,
We have such a high divorce rate nowadays. I think it's because people are just settling for everything because they're so desperate to like have that companionship that they aren't at all picky. And so you have these high school kids who don't know anything about each other who tell themselves they love each other within like 10 seconds, and it's just like kind of ridiculous. It's like you
it's
don't even
funny.
know the person. And so it's like you guys aren't similar whatsoever because you haven't even met enough people. And so it's just like, you definitely are not compatible. And so it's like, I think you'll attract who you are. So if you're a complete nobody, you're probably going to attract complete nobodies. But if you step outside the lines and be more who you are, I think you'll attract other people that are like you.
Definitely. All right, that's a
Those are
wrap,
my closing
guys.
thoughts.
Yeah, that's a wrap, guys.
Um,
Good shit from Andrew. Talked a lot. And yeah, we definitely need to fix these mic problems. Sorry for all the cuts, in between. All these freaking weird ass mic stuff just happened again. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, make sure to drop a. I was going to say drop a like. I think it means it. No, drop a rating if you liked it. Give us a review if you loved it, and also check us out on YouTube. You can see our pretty faces.
yeah, and if you're a programmer, Kevin and I, at least I'm gonna start doing more programming tutorials. I'm assuming Kevin's done some, so you can
I've
probably
done a
check out those
dude.
if you
I've
want to
done
learn.
a few. Yeah, I've done a few
Yeah,
tutorials
so I'm
on
I'm
my
gonna go hard
YouTube.
on YouTube pretty soon.
Yeah, so I've done a few on my YouTube. Yeah, so check us on YouTube. It's if you look at a red circle homepage, it's actually there in the description. So don't, because if you go
Mhm.
searching on YouTube, you're probably not gonna find it because
Yeah, we're not that big yet.
SEO, yeah, because SEO and stuff. And also you can check us out on all the different platforms, like Spotify, Apple iTunes, Stitcher. We're all on there, and we will see you guys next time.
See you,
Peace.
peeps.